The Chinese general laughed as he looked at the map of the dense Philippine jungle and said the Filipino Commandos were too soft to survive a real survival test, too gentle, too untested, too dependent on comfort. His words spread fast, reaching the ears of the very soldiers he insulted. Many outsiders believed him because the challenge ahead looked impossible. 3 weeks inside a brutal, uncharted jungle where storms, heat, sickness and predators ruled every hour of the day. No supplies would be provided except a machete, a canteen and the clothes on their backs. It was a test designed to break even the toughest fighters, and yet the commandos accepted without hesitation. What the general did not know was that the same jungle he mocked would become the one to expose the truth. The commandos arrived at the edge of the rainforest before sunrise. The air felt heavy and mist curled around the massive trees. The humidity slapped them like a wall. The challenge began with a single whistle blown by the observers, and immediately the jungle seemed to shift, as if welcoming them with danger. They stepped inside and the green world swallowed them whole. The first thing the commandos did was stay silent. Every movement was calculated. They listened to birds because birds often warned of something bigger. They studied the wind because wind told stories about incoming storms. Their calmness was the opposite of softness. It was discipline. For the first 2 days they moved almost non-stop, cutting paths through vines thicker than a man's arm. The heat melted sweat into their eyes. Leeches clung to their legs. Mosquitoes swarmed with the hunger of armies. They drank only from running streams, knowing still water was a silent killer. On the 3rd day the jungle struck. Rain fell so hard it felt like stones hitting skin. The river they used for navigation rose fast, turning into a violent current. The watchers from outside expected panic or retreat, but the commandos reacted like they trained for this all their lives. They climbed trees using only vines, waiting out the flooding as they secured themselves with knots made in seconds. Everything was soaked. Everything was cold. Yet they stayed focused, whispering plans, sharing body heat so no one would slip into exhaustion. When the rain calmed, they came down and continued deeper. Food was now a problem. They had no rations. The jungle would either feed them or starve them. One commando spotted a palm whose heart could be eaten raw. Another dug for edible roots. Another set a tiny snare trap using only a bent twig and a shoelace. At dawn they caught a wild chicken. They cooked it with fire created by bamboo friction, a method many soldiers from other countries rarely mastered. The observers watched through distant cameras and whispered among themselves, surprised at how effortless the Filipinos made everything look. On day 6 they found footprints. Not animals. Humans. Illegal loggers operated in that region. The commandos understood the risk. They were here for survival, not conflict, but conflict could easily find them. They moved with even more discipline, staying low and using mud to hide their scent. When they heard chainsaws in the distance they silently changed direction. The jungle thickened as they progressed. Trees rose like towers. Roots twisted like snakes. The canopy closed so tight that sunlight barely reached the ground. At night, glowing eyes appeared in the bushes. The commandos built raised beds using woven branches to avoid snakes and insects crawling into their clothes. They slept in shifts, each man awake with ears alert. On the 10th day one of them fell ill. The symptoms showed fast: chills, fever, weakness. It could be infection, it could be parasite, it could be something worse. They had no medicine. They had only knowledge. The team leader checked his skin and found a leech bite that had become infected. They treated it using crushed guava leaves, a natural antiseptic long used by indigenous tribes. They boiled water, cleaned the wound, and stayed one entire day in that spot until their teammate could walk again. The Chinese general watching the reports frowned. They should have failed by now, he muttered, but the jungle was telling a different story. On day 12 they reached a cliff. The only way forward was to climb down. The stone was slippery, sharp, and covered with moss. One mistake meant death. The leader tested every handhold before trusting it. Vines became ropes. Shoes became anchors. They lowered themselves with slow precision until they finally reached ground again. Below the cliff lay a swamp. It smelled of decay and danger. The mud could swallow a man whole. They cut long bamboo poles to use as testers for solid ground. Step by step, they crossed the swamp, pushing aside branches crawling with ants and spiders the size of a man's palm. When one commando suddenly sank to his knee, the others grabbed him instantly, pulling him out before the mud tightened around him. Every move was teamwork. Every second was trust. On day 14 they finally rested longer than usual. Their bodies were bruised. Their clothes were torn. Their boots were worn thin. But their spirits were solid. They laughed as they cooked river fish with herbs they gathered nearby. A storm rolled in again that evening, but this time they faced it like an old enemy. They built a shelter with layered leaves, tight and angled so the rain slid off. They created a drainage path around their camp so water wouldn't pool. They prepared dry kindling by wrapping bamboo shavings inside their shirts to protect them from moisture. When night came, the fire burned strong. On day 16 they made contact. 3 illegal loggers stumbled near the commandos' camp by accident. The loggers froze when they realized who stood before them. For a tense moment, the jungle held its breath. But the Filipino commandos did not act aggressive. They did not threaten. They simply told the men to leave, explaining that the forest was protected and that harm would come to anyone who abused it. The loggers left without a fight, shaken not by violence but by the calm authority of soldiers who survived the jungle without destroying it. With only 5 days left, the commandos faced the worst of the terrain. A narrow canyon forced them into a single-file passageway where rocks fell unpredictably. The sound of bats echoing through the dark cracked space unsettled even the strongest minds. But still they moved forward. On day 19 they reached an area known by locals as the Whispering Basin. Wind blew through rock formations creating eerie human-like voices. Many explorers had lost their minds here, turning back because of the unsettling sounds that grew louder at night. But the commandos stayed logical. They stuffed leaves into their ears to dull the noise. They used humor to stay grounded, joking that the rocks were trying to gossip. When the final morning arrived, their bodies were thinner, their faces darker from sun and soil, their muscles sore but their eyes sharp. They walked out of the jungle carrying not a single piece of gear more than what they entered with, yet they looked stronger than when they started. They completed the challenge without rescue, without injury, without breaking the rules. The observer stepped forward, amazed. Reports flew back to the Chinese general. At first he refused to believe it, thinking it was exaggerated. But when he watched the footage with his own eyes, he leaned back in his chair, silent. The general finally spoke, but not with laughter this time. He said, "I called them soft. But softness does not move through a jungle like that. Softness does not keep a team alive in conditions that kill even experts. What I saw was not softness. What I saw was quiet strength." The world reacted instantly. Articles spread online praising the commandos' skills. Survival experts analyzed their techniques. Viewers admired their discipline, teamwork, and humility. But when reporters asked the commandos what they thought of the general's comment, they simply smiled and said they did not enter the jungle to prove the general wrong. They entered to prove something to themselves. They said the jungle does not reward loud pride. It rewards patience, respect, and balance. That is what kept them alive. They explained that Filipino soldiers trained in diverse environments: mountains, swamps, coastlines, forests. Many grew up close to nature. Many learned survival skills from their families long before they joined the military. Hardship shaped them long before uniforms did. And so when the general called them soft, they did not feel insulted. They felt curious. They wanted to let the jungle speak for them. The documentary ends with the commandos visiting a village near the jungle. They gave their leftover supplies to local families. They taught children how to create fire with bamboo, how to follow river currents, how to identify plants that could heal or harm. Their message was simple: strength is not loud. Strength is steady. Strength is quiet. Strength is tested when no one is watching. The challenge proved what the general never understood, that softness is not weakness when it carries kindness, intelligence, and discipline. And the jungle, ancient and unforgiving, had shown everyone the truth. The Filipino commandos were not soft. They were steel wrapped in calmness, warriors shaped by humility, and survivors shaped by respect for the land. Their story spread around the world not because they defeated anyone, but because they overcame everything the jungle threw at them without sacrificing their humanity. And the jungle itself seemed to acknowledge them, for when they walked out on that final day, the wind stopped, the birds sang again, and the path behind them faded as if the forest had accepted their passage. And somewhere far away, the general who once mocked them now spoke their names with respect, knowing that in the battle between arrogance and nature, the jungle always chooses the humble.